Hello everyone, my name is Seth, and this is my top 10 films of 2023. "2023 was a good year for movies. It was a really good year, actually. The box office was maybe a little bit weird. It was maybe a little bit down, not counting the COVID years, but it was a little bit down from the pre-COVID years. I believe it was like 2019 where we had like 5 or 6 billion-dollar films, and it seemed like billion-dollar films became the norm. Well, this year we only had 2 with Barbie and Super Mario Brothers. But even though maybe the box office was a little bit weird, the films were really, really good. Before I jump into my list, I will say there's 2 films that I really wanted to watch before I made this, but I just kind of ran out of time because I kind of thought these 2 would make my top 10. They are John Wick Chapter 4 and Past Lives. I just kind of ran out of time. Hopefully I'll have a chance to review those a little bit later. But before I go any farther, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Coming in at number 10 is Elemental. Elemental is the kind of first rom-com from Pixar, and they do an incredible job. This film did not have many people talking about it when it came out. It did not do that great at the box office, but word of mouth got around. It had legs. It stayed in theaters for a little bit longer. More people went to go see it. And now I think a lot more people know how good this movie is. The voice performances were both really, really good. Leah Lewis and Mamadou Athie had incredible chemistry. They brought so much life to these characters. And this is just such an interesting world. They can take some more complex concepts and kind of break it down to make it easier for kids to understand. And this is just a really nice and charming love story. Number 9 is Air. Air follows the true life story of Nike executive Sonny Vaccaro on his mission to try to sign Michael Jordan. This was directed by Ben Affleck. I love Ben Affleck as a director. I think he's really, really good. And I think that continues here. This is a really, really good film. It's structured so well. It's paced so well. All of the characters are really well-rounded. There's plenty of humor. There's plenty of drama. Matt Damon is really, really good in this. He's super charismatic. Jason Bateman is also good. He brings a lot of laughs, and he has some really good dramatic moments. I love his chemistry with Matt Damon in this film. And this teaches you a story about sports history that I think a lot of people probably don't know. I would say that if you are a sports fan, this is absolutely a must watch. And if you're not a sports fan, I think this is a good enough story with good enough characters that you will be invested. Coming in at number 8 is Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon is a very important story to tell, and I'm so glad they got to tell it. I never heard of this before I watched the movie, and this is based on a true story. Martin Scorsese and the production worked closely with the Osage people to make sure they get this as authentic as possible, and I think they did a fantastic job. All of the technical filmmaking here is top notch, and you would expect that from Martin Scorsese. But if you want to be a filmmaker, watch this film as how to kind of structure your film. Watch this film to learn how to use camera movements. Every choice here, the shots, the lighting, whatever, is so purposeful. It just helps elevate the story. And on top of all of the technical filmmaking being top notch, you get some really great performances here too. Leonardo DiCaprio gives another very memorable performance. He has a wide range in this film. He goes from this strong family man, and then he kind of swings to this weak loser that does whatever his uncle was telling him to. It's just a really good performance. I think it's very memorable. Robert De Niro is also very good in this. He plays a villain that is just so easy to hate. I feel like a lesser actor could have just made this like completely over the top and unrealistic, but Robert De Niro did an awesome job here with this role. But I think the shining star of Killers of the Flower Moon is absolutely Lily Gladstone. She would 100% get my vote for Best Actress. Her performance all throughout this film is basically perfect. Her character represents like the best of her people. Her character is such a strong presence for all of the other characters in the film. And her character goes through so much pain and heartbreak and agony, and it is just an absolute powerhouse performance. This film was definitely long, but I think it's worth the watch. Coming in at number 7 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is the last film that James Gunn is doing with Marvel, and this is kind of the swan song for this team of Guardians of the Galaxy. And this has all of the action, all of the humor, and all of the emotion that you would expect from a James Gunn film. I mean, this film had me tearing up at a CGI raccoon. That just goes to show how strong of a storyteller James Gunn is and how he can get you to care so deeply for these characters. The standout here is Bradley Cooper as Rocket. Rocket is the kind of center point of this film, and I absolutely love it. There's so much good stuff here. Even though you're telling this big, over-the-top space comic book story, it still is at the core a human story. Chris Pratt does an incredible job here as well, and Chukwudi Iwuji plays a great over-the-top villain. I think this is the best Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and it is one of the best movies since Avengers Endgame. I think this was a very, very good conclusion to James Gunn in the MCU and to this team of Guardians. Coming in at number 6 is Oppenheimer. This is just a really good achievement in filmmaking. The scale at which Christopher Nolan told this story, he's great with time and suspense, and he's able to give you just a heart-pounding and exciting film, even though a lot of it is just guys talking in rooms. Cillian Murphy is really, really good in this. I would not be surprised if he wins the Oscar for Best Actor. And Robert Downey Jr. is incredible here. I also think he's probably going to win Best Supporting Actor. But the whole ensemble cast is really, really good as well. Christopher Nolan got great performances out of everybody. The scale and the visuals were incredible. That nuclear test scene had my heart pounding. The score is really good. And you add that with the sound. I saw an IMAX. I could feel the sound. That was just an incredible experience. Coming in at number 5 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. They did it again. They told an incredible story here. The animation is absolutely top notch. And like I've said with some of the other films, I want to feel something. That is the best way to make a good film. You can tell whatever story you want, but as long as the core of it is still a human story, then you got a basis for a good film. And that's what we have here. It is over the top. It is crazy. We are dealing with multiverse, tons of different Spider-Men. There's a lot of things going on, but at the core, it is a human story involving Miles Morales. Also able to take this villain who at first seems kind of goofy, but then they turn him into somebody that's really intimidating. Shameik Moore as Miles Morales did an awesome job. Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy, again, awesome. I also love the performances from Jason Schwartzman as the Spot and Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara. I think they did such a good job of expanding on the first film, and I'm super excited to see what they do with the third. If for some reason you have not seen Across the Spider-Verse, please do yourself a favor and do so. Coming in at number 4 is the Taylor Swift Eras Tour film. Now, I kind of struggled a little bit if I was going to put this on here since it's not a narrative, but I just thought that it's too good to not put on here. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. I'm not like a Swiftie. I just liked some of her music, but it was my wife that really wanted to see this. She's a huge Taylor Swift fan. So I went with her, and I was going to examine this from the live music production standpoint. I have a background in live music production, live music streaming, and so I was very interested to see how they put all of this together, how this was all produced. And let me tell you, this is basically the perfect concert film. Editing was absolutely on point. They're able to bring this scale to the stage and to the stadium. All of the music, all of the vocals were mixed incredibly well. I think this really should be the standard of concert films. So this was so good. I could not leave it off my top 10 of this year. Coming in at number 3 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Tom Cruise is absolutely on a roll, with Top Gun Maverick. That was incredible. Mission Impossible Fallout. That was awesome. A lot of people say that is the best in the franchise, and I will not fight you on that. To me, I think Dead Reckoning tops Fallout just by a little bit. I think this is my favorite of the Mission Impossible franchise, and it's crazy to me that we are this far in the franchise with this many movies, and they're still finding ways to top themselves. They're not just topping themselves with these stunts, which they're raising the level every time. The story and the character growth, they're finding new ways to put Ethan Hunt in different positions. They put him up against a villain here where you think, how in the world is he going to win? And that's exactly what I want from my action films. Of course, the action is absolutely top notch. They basically did the train scene from Uncharted 2. And let me tell you, that had my heart just about beating out of my chest. But there's also just a lot of really, really good drama here. There's a lot of tension in the story. And even though this is part 1, they do have a satisfying conclusion to this. Tom Cruise is great as Ethan Hunt, as always. Haley Atwell brought a lot to this film. I really enjoyed her character, and I can't wait to see more from her character. And Simon Pegg and Ving Rhames were great, as always. The story was actually really timely as well. Everything just kind of came together to make an awesome, epic action film. And I went to see this with one of my friends, and right when we walked out, he said, yeah, this is awesome, and I absolutely have to go watch the rest of the Mission Impossible movies now. I love this movie so much. It is absolutely one of my favorite of last year. Number 2 is The Holdovers. This was a really difficult decision between 1 and 2. These were so close. I was going back and forth. Honestly, if you ask me on another day, I would put this at number 1, but for right now, I have The Holdovers at number 2. This was a huge surprise for me. I walked into the theater expecting to like it, but I walked out of it absolutely in love with this film. This is such a good film. The story is relatively simple, but what makes this extra special is the performances and the characters. Paul Giamatti plays this kind of grumpy history teacher, and he does such a good job with it. I know I said I thought Cillian Murphy was probably going to win Best Actor, but I would not be mad if Paul Giamatti did. Divine Joy Randolph was incredible in this. She was so good. She might have given the best performance of this whole year. So I absolutely think that she's going to win Best Supporting Actress. I don't really think it's a competition there. And this is Dominic Sess's first film role, and he did an amazing job. I cannot understate how good he was in this. His chemistry with Paul Giamatti and with Divine Joy Randolph was impeccable, and he really makes you feel for his character. All of these characters are relatable. You've met somebody like Paul Giamatti's character. You've met somebody like Dominic Sess's character. You've met somebody like Divine Joy Randolph's character. Everything is so real. I think this is an achievement in storytelling. It has incredible drama. I teared up at one point. There was just one point, I'm not going to spoil it for you, it takes place in a kitchen, and I was on the verge of actually crying. But this movie also has plenty of humor. And I love the editing. I love the setting. I love the camera shots. I love everything about this film, and I want to stay in this world more. Number 1 is Godzilla Minus One. I never thought that Godzilla Minus One would be my number 1 movie of the year. When I saw the trailers for it, I said, okay, that looks good. I want to see it. But I never expected to be affected by this film the way that I did. Everything with Godzilla is great. It is some of the best Godzilla stuff I've ever seen. All of that is absolutely top notch, but what takes this movie from being just a good Godzilla movie, a good kind of, like natural disaster or monster movie, what takes it from being that just to the next level and to being my favorite film of the year is that they make you care for these characters. A lot of times in these natural disaster movies or the monster movies, you don't care about the characters, and the characters are just kind of there to move the story along, nothing much more. But here, our main character is dealing with trauma and PTSD and guilt, and he's dealing with this kind of unconventional family unit that he has built, and there's just a lot of really good dynamics. His relationships with the other characters in this film, with ones that he served with in the military, the ones that he worked with after the military, they were just both very good and very interesting. And you care so much for the characters. You care for all of these characters. This movie basically has it all. There's amazing action. There's great CGI for such a small budget. There's really great performances and really well-rounded and well-written characters. And all of the performances were really good too. Now, this is a foreign language film, and if you're nervous about that, I would say please give this a shot because it is absolutely worth it. I think you basically forget about the subtitles. You forget that it's not another language. It just kind of all flows together. And one of the biggest compliments I can give to the performances is that even if you just do not read the subtitles, you can still get a sense for what's going on. You'll miss out on some of the details, but the performances are so good, you can have an idea of what's going on. And I think it was a great idea that they brought this story back to post-World War II Japan. This is a great achievement in monster movies. It's a great achievement in Godzilla films. And I think it's just a great achievement in film, period. And that's why it is my favorite of the year. But that's it. That's my top 10 movies of 2023. What do you think of my list? Let me know what you thought in the comment section down below, and let me know what your list is. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. What were your favorite films of 2023? Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can follow me on social media pretty much anywhere at CinemaSeth, and I'll see you next time.